X-Men. Get it!
Hey everyone, and welcome to another exciting episode of Battle of the Atom. This is your weekly X-Men podcast where we rank every story from A to Z.
I'm Adam.
And I am Zach. And Adam,
Hey.
it feels like it's been so long.
Well, it has been a couple of weeks since we've recorded, and it's good to be back. You know, like we got to get back into our schedule here.
Yeah, listeners, because we're responsible podcasters, we prepped for not being able to podcast for a while. So you don't notice an interruption, but this is the first time in like 3+ weeks that me and Adam have gotten to sit down and like chat about what X-Men stories we think are better than other ones.
We got some good stuff today too. We're gonna go back and talk about the 05.
We are going to talk about the 05. And we're going to do that thanks to Patreon supporter Thomas Cummins. Tom's been a longtime supporter of the show and supporter of the Xavier Files media empire. And like I've known him since before I started a website, which is wild now that I think about that.
Hi, Tom.
Anyway, he's a good dude. And we appreciate his support. And we appreciate him letting us talk about stories that we wanted to.
Yes.
But first, we're going to bring in the dancing lobsters.
Court dismissed! Bring in the dancing lobsters!
Adam, we have a very exciting thing that's happened in these 3 weeks that we've been gone that I'm dubbing Lobster Watch.
Yeah, are you referring to the fact that not only did we see Bill the Lobster in the Hickman Mark Brooks artwork, but is he now an Avenger?
I think I'm pretty sure that Bill the Lobster and Gomi have to help stop World War III.
Oh my goodness. It's a War of the Realms crossover? Where did that come from?
No, this is from Avengers No Surrender #9, a comic that I guess it's out by the time that this podcast is out. I have not read and I have no intention of reading. I just know that Bill the Lobster and Gomi from Fallen Angels are stopping World War III with the Ultimates, like the Al Ewing, let's take Galactus and make him the way he was supposed to be, Galactus. You remember when Galactus was the Lifebringer, right, Adam?
Yes.
Oh, so good.
But I don't know. I think that makes perfect sense. You know, if anybody should get galactic superpowers, it should be Gomi and Bill. Even if they're just hanging out and helping out. That makes sense.
You say that, but you once, if I'm not mistaken, drew a comic where Bill's best friend, Don, tried to get revenge on the X-Men for abandoning him and getting him crushed by a T-Rex. And then you had a character from the Dinobots of Transformers, Grimlock, step on him.
Yes, but please, remember that Bill and Gomi still made it out of that situation okay. And really, that was more Mr. Sinister's fault. But I did do that. But it's great to see Gomi and Bill making their way back into continuity.
Yes, it absolutely is. Now, do you know what's messed up about continuity?
Was this your segue into the crimes of Dr. Hank McCoy?
Oh, I was just going to say literally everything about time travel because it's never... Yes. Look. Some of y'all are going to point to the fact that Peter Allen David, two-time GLAAD Award winner Peter Allen David, once said, well, no, this is how all time travel works. It doesn't matter unless you use doom locks on this time machine. And then it matters. And the real answer is no, he was lying to you. Time travel doesn't work, and it can't work in the Marvel Universe anymore. We're too deep into this 50+ year of not being responsible time travelers or having consistent rules.
Yes, time travel is always a bit of a stubborn thing that is constantly happening in the Marvel Universe. I've even heard some rumors that Endgame might engage in some of this, which I hope it doesn't.
It's going to be wild.
Yeah. But Tom's request here does involve, I think, one of the most controversial uses of time travel in X continuity.
You say controversial. I say super beloved by me. And that is Brian Michael Bendis and Stuart Eminem's All New X-Men Volume 1. We're going to be covering the first 5 issues, which I believe is titled in the trade Something No in Home or in there. I don't remember.
Well, All New X-Men 1 to 5. This is a bold reset button, if you will, with Bendis coming on the book and really establishing what not only All New X-Men was going to be, but also really establishing in the first issue what his Uncanny X-Men team was going to be all about. It's just as much about introducing that team as it is about bringing the 05 to the present.
Yeah, people forget that Bendis wrote like 70 plus issues, and the only real through line on it is let's really see what's going on with Scott Summers because he's pretty interesting.
Yeah. So, when I talk about the fact that this might be controversial, I think that, if you've never read this, you're probably missing out on, what's been going on in the X-Men universe since 2012, which involved the original 5 X-Men being brought into the present by Dr. Hank McCoy, who is just that angry with Cyclops that
he's also dying.
Yes, I'm sorry. He is mutating again. He's having a tertiary mutation, and it ain't going so well for him.
Here's the thing. Dr. Hank McCoy is a bad scientist, and I know we have listeners who love him, but you'll agree with me that he once had an untested vial of science juice and said, I'm going to drink this, which breaks, lab safety rule number 2.
Oh, yeah.
Rule number 1 is wear your PPE, wear your personal protective equipment.
Yes.
Number 2 is don't drink stuff.
Don't experiment on yourself.
Right.
Might be a good tip. Yeah. Dr. Hank McCoy has made many, many questionable choices in the course of his scientific career, but this certainly is a real big choice. And he can try and blame it on Iceman all he wants, but he is the one that goes back in time and drags the 05 into the present, basically to just push it in Cyclops' face and say, look, we were young and pure and innocent once. And I don't think any of this goes down quite the way that Hank really anticipated, not the least of which because he lies to the 05 about why he's bringing them to the future.
Yeah, let's talk about this. Let's really dive deep into this one. So Hank McCoy is mad because Cyclops, well, look, we've had our AVX episode. We've said our piece. Cyclops did a bad thing.
Mm-hmm.
Cyclops then got broken out of prison in a pretty dope miniseries that we haven't covered yet.
Mm-hmm.
And then decided just to do X-Men things. Let's be very clear. What Cyclops was doing was rescuing oppressed mutants from stuff.
Yeah, I think that's part of the strange thing is that, you see the rest of the X-Men watching Cyclops teaming up with Emma and Magneto, and all they're doing is coming into situations and helping out mutants in need. So we get introduced to Eva Bell, Tempest. We got introduced to Triage. Later we get introduced to, why is his
Ben
name?
Dietz, Morph.
Yes, Ben. And they're not doing anything particularly different than they have been for years of continuity. And they are outraged. This guy is a terrorist. Why? That doesn't make sense to me. Can you still be angry that he killed all of your dad? Yes, but shouldn't be because of what he's doing. What he's doing is what the X-Men do.
Yeah, no, I definitely agree. So I think it's interesting because reading this again, I can definitely see a dichotomy being formed. The X-Men at the Jean Grey School are just kind of being petty.
Mm-hmm.
So I think people at the time may have read this as Marvel hates Scott Summers, which is a buck wild thing to do when, again, Bendis is going to do like 70 issues about the dude.
I mean, that is just definitely not the case. You don't hate a character and then want to introduce two versions of that character and write about both of them, and the dichotomy between the two of them. I don't think that makes any sense.
They're having characters go through conflict because conflict is the centerpiece of every story and makes things interesting. And they present an incredibly interesting conflict. What's very interesting is when Beast decides to exaggerate a situation.
Yes.
And the book kind of calls him out on it the entire time if you read it close enough. Like, if you read it with just a maybe they don't hate Cyclops look, you can see, dang. They're textually saying that this is a bad idea and a bad plan, and everyone should think it's bad. For Beast to jump into X-Men 8, that one where they fought Eunice, the Untouchable?
Yes. That's exactly where he is, right?
Yep.
Because Beast hasn't gone off to be a wrestler.
It's like page 6 of X-Men number 8.
Yeah. So, we get a lot of stuff happening here. Beast has his second mutation on top. Well, I guess it's his third, right? It's his third mutation.
His third mutation. His fourth permutation of his form, because his let's call it classic Beast, OG Beast form, not OG, just classic Beast, was not a mutation. That was him in Science Juice. His secondary mutation was Cat Beast.
Yes. His
tertiary mutation is, I guess, Ape Beast is where he's at now.
I don't like it.
It's fine.
I've never been a fan. And of course, if Immonen is drawing it, and we should talk about the art here. It looks great. But artists for years have gotten this Beast design like so completely different. And I wish they would, I don't know, maybe make him mutate again. I don't know.
It's not as solidly, it's not as consistently off model as the Cat Beast, which had wild variations.
Yeah. Some people drew with like a big old snout, like he's a wolf or something. But
I like the Cat Beast better than this, though.
Yeah, me too. Definitely. But we should talk about the art, because what we have here is an all-star combo. We have Stuart Immonen being inked by, I always mess up Wade's name, Wade von Grawbadger?
It's Grawbadger. Wade von Grawbadger.
Doing this spectacular, amazing, immaculate artwork on every single dang page. And I think that elevates this story. I mean, if you had a different art team on this, it might not resonate as much. But the fact that it is Immonen, it just really sells this thing big time.
He floors me with his art. Going back to this, I'd forgotten just how spoiled we were in that era. Yeah. Equally good on this is Marty Gracia, who is doing the colors, and his colors are phenomenal on this. Absolutely jaw-dropping, sets the tone so good to still be this big superhero comic, but with just enough grit to it that it doesn't feel like cheesy Silver Age stuff.
And I do think that some of the story beats here work pretty well in terms of setting up what Bendis is going to do. We get that our former Phoenix Fivers powers are either better or broken depending on the character,
which is a good plot hook that never really goes anywhere, but that's not this story's fault.
Yeah, that the conclusion of that drove me nuts. I was not happy with that. But we start to get the interpersonal dynamics that are going to be the crux of what he's doing with Uncanny. And by the time we get to the end of issue 5, we have the Professor K setup that Kitty is going to lead the 05 in the present.
I was going to say, and we get so much good stuff in between that. You get a fight between Cyclops and Cyclops. It's great. Yep. It gives you what you want by issue 4. You know what you're in for. Issue number 4, it's you want this. You want this showdown. Yeah, and by there, that's when the 05 realize, oh, wait. It plants that first seed of maybe this bad future, our Days of Future Past,
Mhm.
isn't what we thought it was. And then
Well,
you get number 5, which has just Jean going into friggin' Hank's mind and setting up Jean really as the leader of the O5.
yes,
And it's
'cause
so good.
she
And
gets to learn her entire continuity.
it has that beautiful double page spread. Just drop it directly into my chaotic arteries, because I want that flowing through me. It's so good. Y'all know the one where she's standing there and there is 50 years of X-Men continuity floating around her noggin.
It is astounding, and there have been homages to it over the last couple of years, but the
Because it's a
original,
good layout.
yeah, the original is just it's outstanding. So, um, I this was one of the arcs that really got me back in. Like, I was already reading Wolverine and the X-Men at this point, but when Bendis and Immonen started doing this title, and especially when Uncanny hit again, I feel like I really got sucked back into X-Men comics. So I remember this fondly. I know that people look back at the Bendis era with varying levels of satisfaction, but this is good comics.
Yeah, it's good comics, and if you don't like it, I can't help you. Where should we put it? Because we talk about good comics and bad comics on our list of 210 X-Men comics, ranging from the very, very best X-Men comic on our list, Uncanny X-Men number 141 to 142, The Days of Future Past, jumping down at number 50 to X-Men / Alpha Flight.
Mhm.
At 100, we have Amazing Spider-Man 92, which is a story where Spider-Man and Iceman stop some corrupt politicians. We got Cable and Deadpool 7 through 10, The Burnt Offering at 150. And at 200, we have X-Force 59 through 61, the Shatterstar Saga. And then we have 10 stories that are worse than that we don't need to get into.
Yeah, the less said about those, the better. We have covered some of the Bendis era before, and
We have.
at 83 and 84 on the list, we have The Last Will and Testament of Charles Xavier, and at 84, we have Battle of the Atom, which I think a lot of people assumed would be sort of, if not the resolution, might be a little bit more of an advancement in this particular arc than what we got. I think this is better than both.
I think it's better than both. And let's put a pin in that thought that you just had about Battle of the Atom, because I have some theories.
Okay.
Yeah, we'll put a pin right there. This is definitely better than them. It's better than All New X-Men 37, which is where Jean Grey and Emma Frost have a good time in Madripoor.
Yeah, that's a beautiful issue, but this first arc is better than that.
I like it better than Uncanny X-Men Volume 2, 14 through 17, the Sinister AVX story.
And we have that at 44. I'm
gonna throw this one out here. I want to hear your thoughts.
Okay, go ahead.
Better or worse than Uncanny X-Men Avenge the Earth? That's at 32 right now. Like, there's some good stories up here. And I'll tell you, I like this story. Like, rereading it, I was pumped. I kind of wanted to read all of the Bendis X-Men again, except for there was still Wolverine unread.
Yeah, you've been reading a lot of Wolverine lately.
Guys, I read like 50 to 60 issues of Wolverine this weekend.
I would say that this is on par with, oh man, I kind of want to go higher than that.
Okay. Here's my ceiling.
Okay.
Here's my ceiling. I don't think it's better than the first arc of X-Force X-Statics at 25.
Yeah.
I think that arc is better. I think this is better than Mutant Genesis. But
I was just going to say, I think that's a good place for it. I don't know if this is better than the Inferno arc of New Mutants, but I could be persuaded otherwise. But I do think that it's better than Mutant Genesis, which is the first 3 issues of X-Men Volume 2.
Then I'd say we slot it in right there as our new number 27.
Perfect. Okay, great.
So we've got All New X-Men Volume 1 at number 27. A controversial and also great showing for this good book.
Yeah, I mean, I think that people look back on this and it's strangely controversial, just because of what the action is of bringing the past to the future. But I don't know, like if you want a big bold step from a bold writer, I think you could do a lot worse.
Yeah, this was good. I was real happy with it. It was great.
Yeah.
So you had mentioned Battle of the Atom being a possibly where we would wrap this up, and I don't think you're wrong necessarily, because I honestly believe, and I have no credible sources for any of this. So this is this Zach's? Is this a hot take? Is this Zach's hot take corner?
Yeah, we haven't had
done
a hot take corner in a while. Let's have it.
Well, I think this actual entire episode is a hot take corner, but let's call this Zach's hot take. Yeah, let's just say corner. I can't think of a good joke right here, guys. I'm sorry.
It's your hot take nook.
This is Zach's speculation nook.
Yes.
In here in Zach's speculation nook, I think when Nick Lowe, I believe it was, pitched this idea of bringing the 05 back, because it wasn't Bendis. I believe it was Nick Lowe, maybe Mike Martz. I forget who was actually running the show at this exact time. I think they said, that's a good idea. We'll try it. Let's make sure we have an exit ramp. If this thing crashes and burns, let's have a way to fix it real soon.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think when it started to hit and work, they said, okay, let's bring it back. Let's keep going. We knew we could use Battle of the Atom for that, but let's not. And then they moved forward again. And we got some space stuff, and we got new members of the team, and we got a lot of things. And then I think they said, well, Secret Wars is coming up. Let's see if that needs to be the time where we get rid of the 05.
Mm-hmm.
And they did choose not to.
No, they did not. That's right.
And then they said, well, dang, let's keep running with this thing, I guess, but we got to clean it up. And we know from talking with Cullen that X-Men Blue was going to be that last, we'll do 12 or 18 issues of it and then send them home. And it lasted twice that long.
Mm-hmm.
So I really do feel like they had built-in exits all the way around for when it finally becomes too much.
Well, and we know from talking to Dennis Hopeless and Cullen Bunn that the original premise of how they were going to go back, what the resolution of the story was going to be, did change multiple times, and we'll get back to this towards the end of the episode. But
I was just going to jump into it now.
Oh, you want to go to it now? All right, let's do it.
We're already on that train. Let's talk about how they actually went back.
So let's talk about it. Let's get into eXtermination, because it's kind of crazy that they lasted. The 05 lasted in the present all the way up into eXtermination.
4 months ago.
Yeah, which is pretty wild.
eXtermination was a 5-issue miniseries released in 2018, written by friend of the show, Ed Brisson, with art on it by upcoming House of X artist Pepe Larraz, who you didn't hear him on the podcast, but Pepe has said this is the most excited he's ever been about anything he's ever drawn. And if you've seen the cover art, it looks good.
I have said it before. I will continue to say that Pepe Larraz is the best thing in superhero comics right now. And his artwork on eXtermination is no exception. This
Marte Gracia also does the colors on this one, and it's still good.
Yeah, great colors. I think Garcia's doing, or is it Gracia, right?
Yeah, Gracia.
Yeah, is doing House of X and Powers of 10. So there is no way in the world that what happens in eXtermination was ever the original plan, or not even, I don't think, the second or the third plan for what was supposed to happen with the 05. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, no, this was let's see what's happening in Blue and let's work from there.
Yes, because this is a wild, and I don't even know if it's truly successful. It's beautiful because of the illustrations. Pepe Larraz is firing on all cylinders here,
with the exception of issue 4, where he only does layouts, and he has to have a fill-in penciler whose name me at the moment. That issue, doing in one sitting instead of with the weirdly long gaps between issues we had on this event, definitely stands out.
Mm-hmm. But if you had told me, after getting into All New X-Men, after reading Battle of the Atom, even during the X-Men Blue run, that this was going to conclude with Cable being killed by a teen version of himself and
Dial-up, yeah.
5-issue conflict with Ahab and Hounds, I don't even know if I would have believed you. I probably would have laughed at you.
I think this is either the first or the second time. This is the first time he's come up as like a main character in this.
Ahab?
Adam, I hate Ahab. I hate Ahab. I got beyond being a Moby Dick reference. I don't know what he's got going for him. He's evil and kind of a pirate. That's it. That's all he's got.
Well, and he's also had the great benefit of being introduced and illustrated over the years by some very talented artists. The first time we really got into Ahab was in an Uncanny Annual that was illustrated by Art Adams. And then, we were just talking about Avenge the Earth. Ahab, pops up there. So it's great when a good artist can take on Ahab, but as a character, you're exactly right. He is basically just an unstoppable force of I want to kill you. And, beyond that, I don't know what you're really getting out of having Ahab in your story.
Because this is what he wants in the story. He wants to kill one of the X-Men. One of the O5. He doesn't particularly care which, but he thinks if he can kill them sooner than Iceman died in his timeline, things are going to work out well.
Right. He's just trying to ensure that the future is messed up. That's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's his whole deal, and that's boring. He's also using 2 small French kids to turn X-Men into hounds, which doesn't go anywhere until the end, where it gets handled almost off panel, where Rachel gets turned into a hound and then captured by Ahab and not fixed.
Right. So
that's currently being fixed in X-Force. We'll see what happens.
Yeah, I was going to say which leads directly into Brisson's X-Force run.
It was only the 3rd time that year that she had become possessed and fought the X-Men.
Poor Rachel. She really
seriously
good shape.
2018 did not do Rachel Summers Gray justice.
So I guess your mileage with this is going to vary based on your your shock factor at having teen Cable come back and kill the beloved adult Cable.
I thought it was a wild twist when it happened, and then the more I've spent with teen Cable, the more I've just hated it. I hate that kid. He's bad, and he's taking time away from the good X-Force boys.
Well, and he also, we've talked about this before, I think, but this idea that he's a time cop, Cable is not a time cop.
Cable has been someone who has monitored the time stream on occasion, but that's not been his job. No. That's been like a hobby since he had a time machine and a gun.
That's right. It's not his shtick. I do think it's a clever approach to say, hey, I'm going to step in. I'm Teen Cable. I'm going to step in and I'm going to fix this situation, whether anybody else likes it or not. But it's one of these things where about 3 issues in, he explains what he's doing and everybody's like, oh yeah, that's cool. And
still shouldn't have shot Cable in the head. With
a
gun.
Yeah, it's ingenious, but at the same time, it's very weird. And I think that the art is doing a lot of the lifting here in terms of selling how dramatic this story is, because, as it was coming out, I definitely was enjoying it. There's a lot of really good action here. It's taking risks. I think that it has a certain level of fun with the X-Force characters, which is cool.
Oh yeah, no, that's the thing. X-Force in this story is done super well.
Yeah.
It's why I was excited for Brisson's X-Force, and why I'm equally disappointed that for the first 5 issues, his 5 issues, his X-Force has been Teen Cable and Deathlock, and also X-Force characters are here, I guess.
Yeah, it's still kind of building that team. But
he gave an interview where he said that the next arc, Teen Table's mostly not in it, and I couldn't have been happier.
So this also does a couple other controversial things, not the least of which is that after the O5 agree to be sent back, they are mind wiped. So they have no memory of this, but their memories of their time in the present are then transported to their counterparts in the present, which, especially considering Iceman's journey, it's a little troubling.
Yeah, I'm not going to personally dig into that too much as a straight dude who's not had to deal with being in the closet, and then having to have my time displaced self out me to myself, and then have to go back into the closet at one point, and then eventually come back out. See, that's just confusing. I will say that I think the books since then have tried to take steps to address it. And I do think that knowing that that was an eventuality, Cullen Bunn in his X-Men Blue running up to this event did make a very significant point to say, this is a terrible thing that Iceman's going to have to do.
Mm-hmm.
And that just sucks.
Yeah, I want to also just talk more generally about eXtermination, because my hope was always that the O5 would be sent back and that it would present the current lineup with a huge shift. You know, like whatever the wrinkles were that were going to be from sending this team back who had spent time in the present, like there would be no way to do that cleanly to me.
Nope.
You know, just from like someone who likes time travel stories. So I was really hoping that the X line as a whole would have used the opportunity to send those characters back and make it be a shift in what was going on with the books. And it's still shocking to me that they didn't do that. Especially knowing that Uncanny and All New were going to wrap up with Secret Wars. It would have been the perfect opportunity for, coming out of that huge crossover event and saying, here's a mini series, we send them back, but then here's what happens because we did that. And here's our new norm. And that's not what they did at all.
It would have been wild, but also Flashpoint made a lot of people mad.
Sure,
when DC did that.
Yeah.
So I can see why they went with the clean option of blah 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 blah. They're back and everyone's fine and everyone remembers everything and all the stories happened, but it's fine, guys. It's interesting. The one big thing I have against this story, especially on rereading, is how cavalierly it treats a handful of characters. Like, Bloodstorm's a nothing character. I understand the appeal. I understand that Bloodstorm could have been cool. Bloodstorm didn't do anything in X-Men Blue, and then she died to motivate young Scott Summers. And that's it. And that sucks.
Mm-hmm.
It felt just very disposable. We've got to kill someone and clean up the table at the same time, so let's move on. I think that was bad. I think killing off Mimic as a cliffhanger was dumb. Like, that did nothing except for say what's going to happen in number 5.
Right. Yeah,
that was
because
dumb.
we believe that one of them, and how much more interesting is it if one of them actually dies? You know what I mean? I just feel like the stakes ultimately are quite low. You have Cable die, but you still have a Cable. The O5. Who is it that the Mimic's imitating at that point? Cyclops, right?
Because Cyclops was hidden on the last cover, so you didn't know if he was going to live or die.
Right.
And guys, Cyclops fans are very afraid about when Cyclops is going to live or die.
Yeah. Yep. So I don't know. I mean, is it well done? Absolutely. I will go to bat for Pepe Larraz's art all the time. I think it's well done. My ultimate desires for what I thought they were going to do when they introduced, this bonkers idea of bringing the O5 to the present. This is not how I thought it was going to go.
So let's look at our list here to judge this harshly and fairly.
Yeah.
No, we'll judge it the right way. Do you like it better or worse than Battle of the Atom, which is a story we love, but has some issues?
I mean, the
Battle of the Atom has good art too. Let's not forget.
yes,
It also
does.
has super good art the entire time.
Well, not the entire time. It has a few not so great issues. But you're right that Pepe does have. There's a fill-in issue where he's just doing layouts. But when he is firing, I don't know. It's absolutely amazing. I think my only critique of his artwork might be the way he illustrates Glob Herman. But
His glob's weird. I don't like his glob at all.
It's very weird. I think I like Battle of the Atom better. How about you?
I agree. I think, let me throw this one out. Do you like it better or worse than X-Men Blue 16 through 20, the Cross Time Capers at number 97?
I think I like this better than that. I liked Cross Time Capers. I liked the return of the Future Brotherhood. But I do think for, the risk taking that eXtermination does, I think it's relatively successful, even if it's not what I want out of the story.
Oh, can I tell you what may be a good controversial point?
Yeah, go for it.
Avengers versus X-Men at 88.
Yep. But below that, we have Psych Wars.
I think Psych Wars is better than
I
this.
was going to say, I think Psych Wars is better. That might be a good spot for it. What do you think about that?
Because right below that is the 3-issue arc of Wolverine and the X-Men where Kitty Pryde gets pregnant with some brood children.
Yep.
So I think this is better than that.
Yeah. So is this our new 90?
Yeah, this is our new number 90.
Excellent.
This is eXtermination, number 90, but right above the Brood saga with Pregnant Kitty.
Yes. All right. So we've covered all of the 05 at this point now.
Yep. Oh, wait. We do 3 stories.
Oh, yes. No, we are going to do another story. I'm just saying to listeners that we've covered the entire thing now.
Yeah, front to back. You should read about the 05. They're pretty great. They're the best. Here's a bold statement. They're the best that the 05 X-Men together as a cohesive unit have ever been.
Sure.
This is better than the first 70 issues of X Factor. Like, pound for pound, the 05 story better than those.
I can get behind that. I think another place that people might want to hang out with the 05 if they're not a Silver Age fans is what we're going to talk about for our third story.
Are you talking about Dennis Hopeless Halliams and Jamie McKelvey's X-Men Season 1?
I am a 130 something page hardcover deluxe introduction to the Silver Age X-Men if they had cell phones.
Yeah, this is a good OGN. Dennis is a friend of the show, as we have mentioned. And we talked to him about this years ago.
Wow, it really has been, hasn't it?
It's been like a year and a half, 2 years since we chatted with good Sir Hopeless. I was hoping to see him at C2E2, but he had to cancel at the last minute.
Yeah.
Poor Dennis. Anyway, this is, like you said, it's a retelling of the Silver Age if they had cell phones, but it kind of also isn't, because it tells the scenes in between the Silver Age, which is very interesting. It's character building in the Silver Age.
Yeah, it doesn't focus on the battle scenes. We are getting nods to some of those classic conflicts between Magneto or the Blob.
The Unis, the Untouchable story is in here.
We get the Unis story, which is great. Though I don't think there's any cake involved.
There is no cake. Dennis didn't put the cake in here. And Dennis, that's your own fault.
Missed opportunity.
You love the cake, Dennis. You're the one who made us talk about the cake on this podcast. Dennis.
But it really does give you a nice contemporary take on the characters. And it is such a fantastic introduction to, it links very, very smoothly with, the 05 coming to the present. All of this brings up crazy questions about sliding timelines and, what is considered canon in terms of the exterior time.
If you think about it too hard, your head will break.
Yes,
So just don't.
You don't want to think about it, because if you go back to All New X-Men, we were just talking about, they do pretty much look like they're in the 60s.
Oh yeah. Later in that run, Scott Summers doesn't know what bottled water is.
Yes.
Did something happen to the water?
Yeah, despite the fact that the O5, seem to know contemporary slang when they come to the present. But I like that season 1 just straight up says, hey, we're now. This isn't necessarily like a continuity or a canon thing, but it's an introduction to these characters and to this time period if you don't feel like digging through these old Stan Lee, Jack Kirby issues.
Which is incredibly valid.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's good. I love the Jean Grey we get here. It's a fun, sassy Jean. It's the Jean Grey that Dennis wrote in his Jean Grey series, and it's good.
Yeah, she's definitely poised as the leader of the team, which I think is an important shift. She's our POV from the start of the story to the very last page when she's in. She's pictured on a splash page as the person in front. She's the lead singer, so it's a really nice repositioning of what her character was all about, because the Silver Age doesn't do her any favors. She's basically wallpaper.
It also has very good interactions between Cyclops and Iceman, which I love the relationship in this, because Cyclops is pretty much Cyclops. He's very driven, very determined. He's working really hard. And Iceman happens to stumble into him in the danger room with Cyclops trying to take down a simulated villain without using his powers and only by telling other people what to do.
Right.
And Iceman says, why are you using a fake Iceman? I'm right here. I'll be your Iceman, Scott. And it's so good because it positions Bobby on this team as like, yeah, he's the kid. And yeah, he's a jokester, but he actually wants to prove himself and wants to try and doesn't want to be seen as a liability or anything like that. It's great.
Yeah, the characterization of Bobby here, of all 5 of them, but Bobby is great. He's definitely the kid on the team. He kind of has a early Justin Bieber look to him. And, the things he does here are very fun. And very, just the way that Dennis captures the essence of each of these characters is really great.
Yeah, I like how that works. I also really like Jamie McKelvey's art. Look, Dennis told us that he kind of got this gig last minute, and Jamie had already signed on, so he got lucky here.
And McKelvey's art is great, just in terms of the tone of this story. You know what I mean?
McKelvey draws sassy teens.
He does, but he's doing a really great kind of. Trying to think of how to put this. It's a clean look. It's not super. It obviously has a style, but it's not super stylized. It doesn't look like it's trying to ape a Silver Age style or anything like that.
It's not cartooning. It's very heavy lines, which when I think of Jamie McKelvey art, I think of real thick, heavy lines, and teens in cool costumes and clothes mostly.
But he really does, he gets the expressions of these characters down, as they're reacting to each other, as they're going through these situations. And, given that most of the book is sort of downtime, it's not super crazy adventure time. He has to really handle some nuance in terms of how the characters are talking to each other.
Yeah, he makes sure that they can come on, grab their friends, and sit down and talk about their feelings a little bit, which is nice. Jamie McKelvey is very good at doing talking heads, which a lot of this book is, to its credit, and it's great. And I like it, and I honestly think that if you want to introduce someone to the X-Men, give them Astonishing X-Men Gifted. If you want someone that says, no, I have to know what happened from the start, say, screw all that, give them this. Oh,
yeah. This is a fantastic primer. If, you're looking to go back from the start and you want to get an idea of, hey, what was all this about? Why should I get excited about it? And I think that you will get hooked. You could draw a direct line between what Dennis is doing here to what Bendis is doing, and then what Dennis takes over again when he does his run on All New.
Yeah, I like this book. I'm excited about this book existing.
Yeah.
We should rank this book though.
Okay. I think this is pretty darn good. We've talked before on the show about the idea of, introductory books, like things you could hand to people and say, hey, this is what X-Men are about. This is a good one to do that.
Similarly, a book that was trying to be an introductory book is at number 60 right now, Ultimate X-Men 1 through 6, The Tomorrow People. I think this is better.
I think this is better too. Up at 49, we have Giant Size X-Men number 1. What do you think about this versus that?
Comparable.
Okay. All right.
Like,
so
I
we know
think
where we're at.
we're in the ballpark because a few above that is like, ooh, wait, I got an idea.
Okay.
Do you think this is better or worse than X-Men 92, 1 through 4, The World is a Vampire?
I do. I do think this is better.
I will say I don't think it's better. We got a block up right around 40 of X Factor Volume 2, Morlocks, E is for Extinction. I like those books better.
Okay.
So I think we are between that. So we've got a couple up there. Better or worse than What If Wolverine was Lord of the Vampires? Again, it's like we are right there.
Yeah,
They're
I know
two very different flavors.
I know we're in the right realm. I think this is better. You kind of have to know a little bit more about X continuity to get into that. Whereas this is not that this should be the objective, but you could hand this to anyone and they could get a good sense of what Silver Age X-Men is all about. So above that, we have at 41 X-Men Legacy 208 to 210. This is kind of comparable with that. That's one that's revisiting the past as well.
Yeah, that's the first arc of X-Men Legacy.
Mm-hmm.
I will say that this is above that, below X Factor Volume 2.
I can get behind that. I like that. That's a good place for it.
Yeah, because I don't know, it's just a fun book. It's good.
Yeah, it is. But I think that's a good place for it.
What is this, 41?
41.
Okay. Okay, that is the show. I think we finished up our podcast, Adam.
Yeah, we've been hanging out with the 05, and we hope you should too, because these are good stories.
We're gonna send ourselves into the future now, into your earbuds to listen to this, which will be fun.
Yes.
So I did want to thank Thomas Cummins for supporting the show and for suggesting this. It was a very fun set of stories to talk about. If you want to be like Tom, you can go on over to patreon.com/XavierFiles. If you pitch in at the $2 a month or higher level, you can get an entire story bespoke crafted around one of your suggestions. And I will tell you, spots are filling up quick for 2019. So get them in. Guys, I'm running out of room. So if you got a story you want us to talk about, please send it in. If you can't support us fiscally, I understand that. That's fine. That's a thing that happens in this world, and we all have to accept that. If you want to just tell a friend or like maybe retweet the show, do whatever, just so more people see this work that we are creating. That's great. Also, I guess if I'm just plugging away, I'm at Xavier Files on Twitter, and you can follow me for all the latest and greatest stuff and things. You can also go to XavierFiles.com, where I have a bunch of X-Men news and articles, and this podcast is there. Beyond that, I'm going to be at Gem City Comic Con the end of this month. I did do some math this week, Adam.
Oh.
Gem City Comic Con, it's on a Saturday and a Sunday.
Okay.
Do you know what's on that Friday?
No. What weekend is that?
It's Avengers Endgame.
Oh.
You know who's defo not going to have a babysitter that Friday?
Sorry, boss. I'm going that Friday. I'll be there.
Like, I'm just going into a place where it just says, guys, talk about this.
Yeah, you're going to get spoiled.
It's just going to happen, and it's rough. But I'm accepting that. Me and Luke here are going to be there. It's going to be a good time. We got a panel on bad comics and how you should talk about them productively. So that's nice. Adam, what are you up to?
Well, guys, you can always follow me at Arthur Stacy on Twitter. New pages of Bish and Jubes, The Cross Time Conundrum are available every X-Men Monday at adamrec.tumblr.com.
That is great. Now, next week we're going to be talking about that firm establishment, the Mar-a-Lago of the X-Men. That is, of course, the Hellfire Club.
Sounds good.
But until then, this has been Battle of the Atom. We hope you survived the experience.
Get it!